Finally, they reached a humpback bridge badly in need of repair, and a cage. Trapped within was Mr. Rat and a jovial Lady Duck.
Finally you made it. I had begun to have my doubts.
It is an honor to meet you two again.
Spies betrayed us, but we haven't yet perished, as she claims to have a speciality in store for us.
Rubicon cracked open the feeble lock. After introductions, it seemed that Delph and Mr. Rat had met. Lady Duck, your potion has worked wonders, but now we face a broken bridge and Delph is wounded. Have you perchance any more magical inhalants?
No, but I can fly these three across. But you, young knight, are too big for me.
Underneath the bridge hang old vines. With these, you could swing across. It's chancy, but the only possibility.
Rubicon agreed to the task, but Lady Duck hastened to warn him.
Down there lives one of Fetish's most peregrine allies, Malice Alice, the Flame Woman. If she's awake, she will soar up and burn you alive.
All three sat on Lady Duck's back. Rubicon adjusted his gun so it would hang down his chest. He grabbed a thick vine. Twisting his way down, his mind twisted around a rope of thought. Ha! This was a triviality. Just as he was ready to swing across, he felt disordered. Sweat dripped into his eyes. Exhausted, one hand lost grip, and Rubicon swung aimlessly through the air. But as he realized his colleagues were trying to tell him something, a nearby vine shot into flames. The Fire Woman was ascending to swallow her feverish bait. His body was excreting oils in vast quantities. Droplet hors d'oeuvres for a famished Malice Alice. But with his free hand, he pulled the trigger and shot. There was an eruption of fire, shooting balls of flames everywhere. Summoning up the last vestiges of his strength, he swung across to grab another vine. The previous one fell down. It took all Delph's failing strength to haul Rubicon up. Everyone hugged as the bridge started to shake and collapse. They hastened across and watched it crash down.
Well, if she's still alive, she is going to have one juicy headache.
They entered a triangular room with buttresses on both sides.
I would not have liked to compile the A to Z map of this palace.
True, but it would make a terrific traveler's lodge. You could make a mint.
The central area of the room zigzagged between a series of trap doors. Resting against the back wall was her walking throne, and on it the Whispering Crown. Lying on the floor like an effigy was Queen Fetish. Rubicon felt cheated, for she looked like a haggard old bag. Her horrific body was alive with veins, glowing through her skin like a plant leaf held in front of a candle's flame. Her unique head was surrounded by a web-like structure replete with countless eyes. Her bony neck vibrated, looking like it was being groped by lank, tawdry-looking fingers. She was clad in a white valance cloth, which resembled a squalid and worm-eaten wedding dress. Had she hoped to marry in this?
Don't tarry, kill her!
But I feel a threadbare pity for her.
Rubicon, don't be such a wimp. Stop the jaunder and go for victory. Ignore her. Win some appearance. You can slay her. We cannot, as we are under oath.
Rubicon thought he saw a tear from Lady Duck's eye. How strange. Delph and Hexapod took the right corridor. Lady Duck and Mr. Rat the left. Rubicon walked towards the steps leading to her body, carefully avoiding the trapdoors. Disturbed by his movements, Queen Fetish began to stir. Her eyes opened to see him advancing, brandishing his sword. She knew she was too weak to distract him.
So, brave and attractive knights, you have finally arrived. The one to surpass all my guardians. Indeed. You are a fine and saucy specimen. What a delicious profile, and what muscular arms you have. Do you have any tattoos? Come, let us drink a chalice of mead. Are you really going to slaughter me like this? Or will you allow me a few minutes to powder my nose?
An unbelievable flippancy even in the face of death. The harridan was playing for time. He must strike. Your persuasive attempts have failed you on this occasion, milady. Breathe your final breath, you deformed oculist.
Why bother yourself with ugly fights when you can live forever in my garden of delights?
Ignoring her, he continued his run. Fetish, shrieking in horror, proclaimed,
It is my legal right to conjure up 2 last spells before you kill me, and if these spells prevent your escape, I shall be reincarnated and return to rule again.
rantingly. She chanted a series of runic maledictions and tried to grab the crown. But Lady Duck had the jewels safe in her webbed feet. Last, her fortile had become a normal chair. As Rubicon reached Fetish, the fingers wrapped around her neck lengthened, attempting to claw away his genitals. But the knight swerved, and with a mighty swing chopped off her jabbering head in one magnificent blow.
Ding dong, the witch is dead, the mean old witch, the wicked witch. Ding dong, the mean old witch is dead.
The head rolled down the steps, and on hitting a trapdoor, caused it to open, casting her head into a blaze. 2 enormous serpents rose out of her body. One dived towards Delph, the other Rubicon. He went to stab it, but his blade had been mangled by Fetish's flesh. Sliding it into the scabbard, the knight retreated and agilely jumped backwards over the door where the head had fallen. The serpent pursued and fell, following its master's head.
Why make a head when you could cook with the entire body?
Mr. Rat spoke again. Delph screamed as the second serpent squeezed her. Rubicon implored Lady Duck for ideas. In a loud and copious voice she began an incantation. The serpent shriveled up into an insignificant worm. Wow! Who was this woman?
Don't think, Rubicon. Let's find the exit.
Where's Mr. Rat?
He's disappeared.
Then from behind the backdrop he announced the way out.
You can always trust a rat and a Hegira.
Behind the heavy arras was a mountain of steps. Like ants they stood before a monolith of stone hewn into colossal blocks.
Children, this her second and more competent spell beats those silly invertebrates she produced. For my identity has arrived. But before that, Delph, I want to tend to your wound.
And by plucking one of her feathers and placing it onto the cut, the bleeding stopped. Lady Duck waddled ahead.
Briefly you shall see who I am before I change again, and we can flee this den.
The duck then transformed into Oan the magician.
You are correct, Rubicon. Though I could not enter as myself, nothing in her putrid charms forbade me to enter as a harmless creature. You were my excellent ploy, and have not disappointed me.
Then, just as the duck had transformed into Oan, he metamorphosized into Pegasus, the legendary winged white horse.
Hurry, you four! This world is disintegrating, her spells are melting! Come, Delph, don't be shy, you elf.
Sorry.
Rubicon hoisted all three onto Pegasus's back, and as they soared through the corridor it started to fade.
Rubicon, your steed is safe, and Lucia is still unmarried. After I deliver you, I shall be on my way. There are years of happiness ahead, but do not become sloth and forgetful, for someone will always scoff at your achievements. The seeds of evil are always being sown, and every valiant
As they
story...
accelerated, the cool air freed their nostrils of that dreadful stench from below. With the castle in sight, they cheered and waved.
Jolly good.
Even Sir Zabla was again whole. He whispered, "Oan, do you remember that night we sat around the fire and talked about the mysteries of the world?
Of course.
And you will recall the rhyme you recited."
Why, it seems like yesterday.
Well, as the flame woman was approaching, it was that rhyme which saved me.
Rubicon, you have destroyed the one enemy I could not. You see, Mistress Fetish was once my wife. My gravest mistake.
Rubicon vowed that this would remain his secret till he died. In the distance, the trumpets were sounded, and the flags were again hauled to the skies. The future king had returned, clutching a crown which shimmered and no longer